That was the time that I decided to, before going to the sand dune, to hike this small hill. And when I start hiking, I've started watching a bunch of inscriptions here, and this one was the first one that I found.
Deep in the rugged deserts of northwest Saudi Arabia, among blackened mountain peaks and endless stretches of sand, lies a mystery older than recorded history itself. A place long forbidden, hidden behind Saudi fences and military patrols. A place that some believe holds the greatest archaeological proof of the Bible's most epic story, the Exodus. For centuries, scholars have debated whether the Israelites truly journeyed across the Red Sea, whether they really stood before Mount Sinai as thunder and fire descended from heaven. Skeptics called it legend, myth at best. But now, something extraordinary has emerged from the stones of Arabia, something written not by modern hands, but by the ancient Hebrews themselves. Before we reveal what was found, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more breathtaking biblical discoveries that prove the Word of God still stands the test of time. Because what you're about to hear may change the way you see the Bible forever. For generations, the world looked to Egypt's Sinai Peninsula as the traditional Mount Sinai, the mountain of Moses. But in the late 20th century, a growing number of explorers began to question that location. Among them was Wyatt, a controversial yet pioneering biblical archaeologist who believed the real Mount Sinai wasn't in Egypt at all, but across the Red Sea, in modern-day Saudi Arabia. Wyatt and later explorers like Jim and Penny Caldwell risked everything to investigate these restricted desert regions. What they found was astonishing. A mountain called Jabal al-Lawz, whose summit is covered in blackened rock, as if scorched by heavenly fire. At its base stood what appeared to be an ancient altar, encircled with carvings of bulls, eerily reminiscent of the golden calf story in Exodus chapter 32, when the Israelites built an idol at the foot of Mount Sinai while Moses was receiving the Ten Commandments. The mountain, locally called Jabal Makla, the burnt mountain, seemed to match the biblical description perfectly. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. Exodus chapter 19, verse 18. But the evidence didn't end there. In recent years, as Saudi Arabia slowly began to open its lands to archaeological exploration, researchers made a shocking discovery. Scattered across the rocky valleys around Jabal Makla were hundreds of inscriptions, markings carved into stone thousands of years ago. At first, Saudi archaeologists labeled them Talmudic, a common form of ancient Arabian script. But when Dr. Miles Jones, a scholar of ancient Hebrew and historical linguistics, examined photographs of these inscriptions, he recognized something extraordinary. These are not Talmudic, he said. They are Proto-Hebrew, the earliest form of the Hebrew alphabet. Dr. Jones concluded that the inscriptions dated back to the very period of the Exodus, evidence that Hebrew-speaking people once stood at the foot of this mountain. His findings were independently supported by Todd Eaton, another expert on ancient Semitic scripts, who personally visited the region in the 1990s. He described seeing carvings that depicted sandals, menorahs, and even shofars, symbols deeply rooted in Israelite culture and worship. Two experts, two separate journeys, yet both reached the same conclusion. This was Hebrew, in the heart of Arabia. Among the most mysterious of these inscriptions were carvings of human feet and sandals, scattered around the mountain and near a site some believe to be the split rock of Rephidim, the very place where Moses struck the rock and water gushed forth for the Israelites. To most archaeologists, these looked like random carvings, but to those who know the scriptures, they carried deep meaning. In Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 24, God told the Israelites, "Every place where you set your foot will be yours." Dr. Jones noticed 3 short marks beside many of the sandal carvings. The Proto-Hebrew letter Kaf, meaning sole of the foot. To him, these were boundary markers, tribal symbols of ownership, signs that the Israelites had indeed walked and claimed this land. Jim and Penny Caldwell, who lived in Saudi Arabia for years, documented dozens of these carvings. They believed the Israelites left these foot symbols as a declaration that God had truly given them this ground. Perhaps even more astonishing is what Dr. Sung Hak Kim, a South Korean physician and explorer, discovered in a valley leading toward Jabal Makla. Granted rare permission to explore these restricted areas, Dr. Kim photographed a massive rock face inscribed with what appears to be the oldest depiction of a menorah ever discovered, older than any found in Israel or Egypt. The menorah, described in Exodus chapter 25, verse 31 to 32, as the lampstand of the tabernacle, has always been a sacred emblem of God's presence among His people. If genuine, this carving is not just an artifact, it's a testimony. It whispers across millennia, they were here. Just north of these sites lies the Split Rock itself, a towering boulder split clean in two, with signs of water erosion pouring down its base. Around it, another inscription was discovered. Dr. Jones and Todd Eaton both translated it as place of rest, or to stretch out. In Hebrew, that word is Rephidim, the very name of the Israelite encampment, where they fought the Amalekites, and where water flowed from the rock. Imagine that, the very name of Rephidim, carved by the very people who stood there thirsty, frightened, and yet sustained by the hand of God. Other inscriptions in the area reference Yahweh, the Hebrew name of God, expressing gratitude for a ram provided, possibly alluding to the ancient practice of sacrifice, just as Abraham once said, God Himself will provide the lamb. To see the name of Yahweh written in the desert of Arabia, at the foot of a mountain shrouded in blackened rock, is enough to send chills down the spine of any believer. Could this truly be the same Mount Sinai, where God descended in fire, where the 10 Commandments were given? Dr. Miles Jones proposed a fascinating theory he calls the literacy covenant. He believes that at Mount Sinai, God gave not only the 10 Commandments, but literacy itself. In a world dominated by Egyptian hieroglyphs and pagan symbols, the Israelites were forbidden to make graven images. Instead, they were taught to read and write using a new system of letters, the Proto-Hebrew alphabet, the same alphabet that later evolved into modern Hebrew, Greek, and even Latin. The alphabet, Jones writes, was the most important innovation in human history. The great divide between paganism and monotheism, superstition and understanding. Todd Eaton added that he believes these letters may even align with constellations, visible in the night sky above Jabal Makla, forming the Hebrew letters from right to left, as if God Himself wrote the heavens into language. From the charred mountain peaks of Jabal Makla, to the split rock that seems to have once gushed with water, to the Proto-Hebrew inscriptions declaring Yahweh's name, the evidence forms a breathtaking tapestry. It traces a journey of faith, survival, and divine encounter. A journey that began in Egypt and ended in fire, thunder, and revelation upon a mountain in Arabia. Ron Wyatt, Jim and Penny Caldwell, Dr. Miles Jones, Todd Eaton, and Dr. Sung Hak Kim all risked their reputations and even their lives to bring these discoveries to light. And while skeptics continue to debate, the stones of Arabia speak louder than words. Thousands of years ago, a people walked across a sea, guided by a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. They stood trembling before a mountain that burned with unearthly flame. Today, that same mountain stands silent, but its stones are carved with their memories, footprints, names, prayers, and promises. In the end, these discoveries remind us of one simple truth. The Bible was right. The Israelites were real. Their journey was real. And the God who led them out of Egypt still leads his people today.